most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Racehour. Not long to go now, only 3 weeks on Tuesday of this week to the festival, so we're all getting very jiggy. Joined as ever by Tony Keenan and Diarmuid Nolan. We are sponsored by Bet365 and Gambling.com. I'm your host Stephen Cass, and as you can see on the screen, we're joined by a very special guest today, Andrew Blair White. Andrew, you look like you smell nice there. You're cleanly shaven, a good shirt on. You've come prepared.
Yeah, clearly come prepared for the party, Stephen. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Really looking forward to delving into these festival favourites. And me and yourself have gone for the matching black curtain background, so nothing more to give.
Yeah. Yes, I was going to describe something that Second Captains did a podcast on, some kind of a cave with a word before it, but we won't go into that. Tony Keenan, and you're also wearing a shirt, so this is obviously a big show if you've broken out the Christmas present.
Christmas what? Christmas, I don't know, 1998 or something like that. Obviously, I don't care, but you pair of boys for a new Andrew would be well turned out, so I said about to throw on something somewhat respectable. Take a look at these festival favourites.
Yeah, assessing the festival favourites. You teed me up there, Tony. The catchy title of this podcast, as I always complain, the worst podcast of the year. But great to have you with us if you're new, Dermo. Isn't that the case?
Oh, it is. And look, this show is the show listeners that cast cries and moans about for months at a time, and then it ends up doing the biggest numbers of the year every year, and we've the same argument every season. This year, in fairness, Cass, you haven't argued off.
I've given up. If you can't beat them, join them. So what we're going to do is go through 16 of the festival favourites, say yes or no. And if you are new to us, we'd love to have you with us. So if you could like and subscribe, God knows if that makes any ounce of a difference. But it might do, Dermo. Dermo, how was your punting at the weekend? Had you any winner?
I had a winning weekend, Cass, all thanks to a good old Dungarvan man. It was a big weekend at Dungarvan, wasn't it? A big winner in Nan's Choice on Saturday.
Yeah, a massive for, I'd say a lot of listeners won't even know about this, but there was a mayor's bumper on Saturday, and Conor Houlihan, who'd be a brother of Sean and Niall, the jockeys, he'd actually be a distant cousin of mine, maybe third or fourth cousin or something, and had his first winner, and fair play to him. Like, he was over with Paul Nichols in England. He was riding, but he's a big man. Like, he's as tall as myself and Tony. Like, I don't know how he's ever riding, but he was. He's a good golfer as well. He's an athletic fella, but he's apparently he was always the best horseman of the three of them. His mother would say that. So he's now training Anthony Murphy, Blah Murphy, as he'd be known around here. Good Bricky Rangers man. He has set up a few barns and gallops and stuff out at his farm. So that's where Conor's based out of, and just to get his first ever winner, it's absolutely huge. So up to Garmin, they're into Queelies. Queelies gets a mention in the podcast as always, but 6 o'clock, John had the champagne. And Diarmuid, you've been Queelies yourself this weekend.
6 o'clock this Saturday, myself and Cass are running a Jack Healy Ray style clinic inside the Queelies bar. So call in if there's anything we can do for you.
Yeah. We'll see everyone at Queelies. Right, look, we'll crack on and we're going to give Andrew the first nod. We're going to go through 16 races, the favourites, yes or no. See, can we build a little Festival Acca? And Supreme Novices Hurdle, Nicky Henderson with the favourite. Andrew, we've seen this before.
Yeah, we have indeed. Look, not the type of horse I'd be in a mad rush to be in against, but I just think when you're looking at it from a yes or no perspective and you're looking at the depth of the race, I think I'm just about siding on the no side here. And as I say, not much against the horse himself, who's done an awful lot right this year, but you've got a lot going for you in the race with El Kairos, Talk the Talk, even down to a horse like Idaho Sun, who I think is being criminally overlooked in the market, I must say, from an English challenge at kind of 14, 16 to 1. So I think you've enough there to take on the favourite. As much as I can understand why he is the favourite, I can understand why people do like him.
Okay, I'm going to give him a yes before we run to the other two. So we'll have 1 and 1 going into the last two. I just thought he was sensational at Cheltenham, and I don't think that Haydock would have been his track at all. So he was very impressive to go around there when he did, beating a good horse, I thought. What's his name? Ted Hurricane Pat.
Hurricane Pat.
Yeah. So Old Park Star 2 to 1. I'll give him a yes. I just think on the eye test, I think he's something special. It's going to take an absolute weapon to beat him, and I think he could be Nicky's next big star. Tony, what about you?
Yeah, no, what Andrew said there, just very deep race. There's 3 or 4 be given a chance there. Talk the Talk, Sober Glory, Idaho Sun. Yeah, so no for me.
So it's probably technically a no for our Acca. Dermo, you're a big fan of Old Park Star.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed in both Tony and Andrew. They both might not be invited back now after that. So, but
Yeah, well, I know what you're
It
going
would
to
have been a
say.
yes for me.
I know what you're going to say on Lulamba in the Arkle. He's 11-8, Dermot, so I'll come to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
well, I was
no,
going to
move on.
actually start with
No
Andrew
for me,
again in
yeah.
case we started with a yes. So you're a no. Tony, you're probably a no, but you can go into it a bit more if you want. He's 11 days. We're using the ante-post prices here.
Yeah. That's all right. No, I actually did look at the race there today. So, no, he's definitely a yes. Has he not got the two best pieces of form in the race, like the game spirit and the Sandown race? Like, and he's got the perfect preparation versus the second favourite, who's had the horrible preparation, as far as I'm concerned. And look, there's a little worry about the jumping, but I would have those two further apart in the back, and he'd be yes for me. There's others there down the field be given chance to me, and me way into the race will probably be taking on Copic the boards in the without market, but no, I think Lulamba's a solid favourite.
Okay, he's 11-8 there now. He's probably going to get bigger near the day as all this money seems to be coming for Copic to board. Andrew, which side of the fence are you on with the Lulamba?
Big fan of Kopek to board. I understand what Tony's saying there in terms of preparation. I just can't really get my head around how positive they do seem to be. Whether I'm going to get led down the garden path there, I'm not so sure. But there's just that worry in my mind if you take a short price on Lulamba that Kopek to board's the more natural 2-miler. And if he puts that round together, I know that's a big if, that he still would be the better horse at this distance. And I just have that reservation. Completely understand he's the form horse going into the race, but it was a no for me at the price.
Tony, you went through today. Who do you think will run? Salvatore Mundi probably won't run, I suspect. So the pace to set it up for Lulamba would be coming from Kopek and anywhere else.
So just going through it here: Lulamba, Kopek, Kyrgyz, Romeo Coolio, Irish Panthers, Steel Alley, maybe. And then you're into Rags after that. Doesn't sound that pushed on Capital Pike, does he? I thought maybe Easter would be the job there. Saturday or Monday, well, to have the favourite in the same colours. So, yeah, but you've Kopek the board, who presumably only has one way of going, especially when he's coming off the guts of 3 months of a break. Kind of hard to imagine he's not going to be kind of up there. And Kyrgyz as well. I know that the same yard and under normal circumstances they restrain them, but they don't strike me as two of the most amenable characters with how they tend to race.
Okay, we'll talk about it more at our preview next week in Dublin. That'll be out next Friday for everyone. We'll be joined by Mikey Fogarty and David Bullins at that. The champion hurdle is next. Tony, we'll stick with you. The New Lion, these are the ante-post prices, as I say, is 9-4 with Bet365. Impressive winner of the Turners last year, but plenty of question marks this year around the horse.
Oh, he'd be neutral on him. I think he's kind of done, not a hard yes or a hard no. He's done it in kind of in similar circumstances in the Tours last season. Like a little bit of a brighter days ahead fan, but Gordon Elliott saying stuff like we're going to stable away from Cheltenham. They're just kind of raises red flags. Like they obviously are quite worried about the track and whatever it is about the experience or something just niggling there. Like another kind of subpar performance aboard the track wouldn't surprise. So, look, if you are kind of keen on the New Lion and we're stuck for one to put into this thing, I wouldn't fall out over it anyway.
Okay, well, I know a man who said last week that he's kind of coming around to him. So, Dermo, you could make the case.
Yeah, I'm very strong on him now, and I really wasn't expecting to be. So, lunchtime here now, I tend to go through a race as much as I can, kind of on days. And Newcastle, obviously, look, he tries to run out. It's a nut job of a thing to do. But I actually watched the 2 races beforehand and the one afterwards. 3 other horses did it on the day, which is odd, as in, I don't know whether something was going on there, what it was. Now, he did look to me last like at Cheltenham like he was half thinking at one point to do something as well. So there is something there in him. But this year is striking me as the year that Epatante won her first champion hurdle, or Bouverdere won his first champion hurdle, that there's one horse very much so on the up who has had a prep working into this race where they've kind of got everything. I know he fell at Newcastle, but he proved to them that day that he was quick enough for this trip. Last time they held him up to make sure he jumped the last correctly. They've been teaching his way through. Bouverdere had a similar year now to what the New Line is doing. And the way I look at this race is there's horses going up one, all have questions. They all have questions around Cheltenham, but him, really. Lossimo doesn't have questions, but she has questions about her speed. Golden Ace, is she still in the same form this year, or did she just pick up another race? It's very hard to know. She'd be another one, though, that I will be back on a match bet with Brighter Days Ahead, but that's a separate matter. I'm a very firm yes here, and there's an argument that 5-2 on the day, I think, is a cracking bet. I just think he's got the most space yet to improve of all these cats.
Yeah. Do you know what I'd be a bit? That's very interesting what you said about Newcastle. That's good homework. It's something we haven't heard, John. Fair play. One thing I haven't heard either. I think he nearly fell at Cheltenham last year. He kind of stepped at it and he kind of got away with it. Yeah. So when he's jumping at pace, which he did at Newcastle and had an issue, and which he did in the Turners last year, had an issue, but got away with it. The fact they're trying to teach him by getting in tight and stuff, what's going to happen when he has to go long at one? Is he going to step and put down?
Bouvardere was similar, though. Bouvardere was very similar to him, and he just, I think when a horse meets the hurdles as perfectly as the New Line tends to, this can happen. This is a definite worry, but I think overall he hurdles perfectly, and if they can hold him back a little bit jumping the last,
okay,
nothing will be finishing like him.
I think Bouvardere is a totally different model. He was like up and over and running.
No, but jumping wise, I mean, but still, watch the two of them hurdling. I literally watched them both back recently. They both leave with the centimetre left when they're jumping. They're both beautiful hurdlers. Yeah.
Okay. We'll agree to disagree on the hurdling technique of the New Line. But Andrew, I'm kind of a no, but Tony's a yes, Dermot's a yes. You have the cats in the boat here.
Yeah, no, I'm afraid it's going to be a no for me. Just wouldn't. I would have the same jumping queries myself that you have, Stephen, to be honest, because I think even if you look back at the Turners, he was even lower at 2 out than he was at the last. He absolutely fly leapt in behind there, and he just has that tendency, and I don't know, like they made it out, and if he goes and wins the Champion Hurdle, great, but that run at Cheltenham the last day, I don't know. They're saying there's a great preparation. How is going around at 23 miles an hour, getting them into the roots of every hurdle, great preparation? Like, there's nothing that's going to happen at Cheltenham in March. And he's running against Nemean Lion. Like, I didn't see how kind of that run was bringing him forward in any way. Like, I had more vigorous schooling sessions at Skelton's home yard than he would have done at Cheltenham that day. And I just look at it. Interesting what Dermot's saying there about Golden Ace. I think there's an argument to suggest the 2 times she's been beaten by State Man at Punchestown last year and Sergino at Christmas was probably arguably some of the best form in the race. I never thought I'd come round to the day where I thought I'd say that I'd be back in Golden Ace for a Champion Hurdle, but she's kind of staring you at the moment as a bet in the race for me.
The biggest load of nonsense as well, Andrew, is that I heard Gordon Elliott say it actually in the previous show, the segment you put together on Racing TV, is this notion that the only reason Golden Ace beat Jade de Krugi and Brighter Days Ahead was because Jack and Paul Townend were looking at each other for too long and she slipped by them. Jumping the last, she's behind Brighter Days Ahead jumping the last. She's just too quick for them. She's behind them most of the way. It's the biggest, like, how they, and loads of people keep saying it. The Paul Townend and Jack Kennedy were staring at each other. She was far too quick for them. She jumps the last behind Brighter Days Ahead and just scoots away. That's not Jack Kennedy being asleep at the wheel or anything, as in, I don't know. I think she's definitely underestimated, but I think the New Line's better.
Okay,
sorry.
On to the Wednesday then, and the Turners novice hurdle. No drama. This end is the 4-1 ante-post price favourite here. I'd be yes on this. I think he's been wildly impressive. The Challow hurdle curse was beaten last year. Paul Nicholls is talking the horse up. His form's very good. He loves Cheltenham. I think 4-1's a fine price, and there's a lot of question marks about the Irish ones. I'd be putting him in if I was doing it. Diarmuid Nolan, go to you first, though, on no drama this end.
I'm down the middle, so again, just like Tony last time, if there was a casting vote, I'd sway my other way on it. I'm on Active Innocence already, but I actually watched him back again. No issue with him. I wouldn't have the mentality issues like you'd have, but I'd have an ability question over hurdles with him. And no drama this end would probably be my bet at the moment, but I'd be far from, hard on anything here. So yes and no.
Okay.
Okay. I'm like Switzerland. I'm just, I'm neutral.
Yeah. Andrew, we'd like to hear your thoughts on the races as a whole. Like, we're just going to talk about the favourites, but geez, they're fairly talking up Mighty Park in the way they're backing him. On the exchange earlier, I did look, and Mighty Park is actually favourite. He seems to be strong. What's your view of the Turners?
Yeah, well, it's back to the kind of Willie Won't He stuff and the Willie Mullins press day, which I was in attendance of a few days ago, and he's talking up Faugheen and these sort of comparisons. Look, he's ended up winning a maiden hurdle that we have no idea about of how good he is. I'd be struggling to back him. I'd be struggling to back No Drama this end myself. I know Paul Nicholls has kind of been mentioning, he loves dropping the Denman comparisons. For me, he reminds me quite a lot of Brave Man's Game at this stage of his career, to be honest. Strong, travelling, good-looking horse, jumps super. I'm sure he's a proper Grade 1 horse. My worry is that he's come off the bridle once in his career and he was near on lapped in the Champion Bumper last year. And then this year he's beaten Heads Up, not really a 2.5 miler and a bit of a head case in his own right. The Blue Room, who's still running around Cheltenham at Trials Day, and Clint Madrick at Toby Laws. So, he's beaten kind of inferior horses on the bridle, and he's got horses in here. Now, Willie's all over this, or, the kind of the talk is all about Mighty Park. He might be the one. I'd love to see King Rasco Grey up in trip into this race, to be honest. I think there's still a seriously good horse there. They seem convinced that there's still improvement to come, and I thought maybe him up in trip, and the likes of a Ballyfad as well, maybe thrown in the mix. There was enough to go off. No drama this end.
Okay, so two yeses and a no drama at this end. Tony, you have a casting vote here. Does he go as the first leg?
God, my opinion would just be, I dare you'd rather ask me the question about the lad that's favourite on the exchange. Like, Mighty Park, no, I wouldn't like him at the prices anyway. He can be really, really good horse and get beaten in races like this off the one prep run. God, I know to me cost that was on Dino Blue the year of the Dawn Run, sure, again, talked up and backed as if the feet was out of the question. I kind of inexperienced completely, kind of found her out, sure, she was able to win open Grade 1 chases afterwards. So, I'd be against Mighty Park. So what's we take on No Drama this end? Yeah, I say he's probably a little bit overpriced relative to Mighty Park. Like, the horse that has actually gone and done it. I know maybe the form doesn't stand up to the greatest scrutiny, but then again, does any of the others as well? Like Ballyfad, I do like Ballyfad, but he wasn't the right place very much at the DRF, and Scaled Hustle was beaten, probably ends up the top, Dr. Steinberg. So, go on, sir. Give me a tick for Mighty Park there. He's not too bad at the prices. Go on, sir. We have to get something over the line.
You're after saying, give me a tick for Mighty Park. So do you mean?
No drama in a sense. I don't know the names. Yeah, part of it. Sorry. Paul Nicholls horse. God, part of it.
Yeah, so we've had two. We've had three English. So they're all English favourites actually so far. But Tony's picking up Lulamba and picking up kind of ish No Drama, they said. But we have one. So
I never want to put money on that. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we've got one on the docket.
We've one on the docket.
Drama, is it?
And the next one's an interesting one. I tell you, I was watching back. Andrew, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this fella, because we've talked about him a lot. I think myself, Dermo and Tony were kind of half against him all season, in a way, waiting for something to happen. We may be right, we may be wrong, but I was watching back the last year's Turners. God, he really did not get up the hill either, Final Demand after the Turners. So going up and trip to a Brown Advisory on the back of that prep. He's 4-1 though, and Willie has worked his magic before, brought horses like Gaelic Warrior back from poor performances at the DRF to go and win. So, where were you with Final Demand before Leopardstown, and where are you now after?
I think that the disappointing thing for me, Stephen, going into or after Leopardstown, was that he decided to run poorly there. I thought he would win at Leopardstown, and then he was the right one to take on, because he'd have been around even money 4-6 for this race. And I think, the kind of the cat's out of the bag now, and I didn't lay him at Leopardstown, and kind of probably should have done in the end. But hindsight's a great thing. I just think, a little bit similar to kind of what I was making with No Drama this end there. This horse has come off the bridle twice in his life and has been beaten twice in his life. He doesn't seem to be the most robust when he gets hassled, seems to want to do things his own way. And I think there's a small argument of what has he actually beaten in his career as well. You look back at the Nathaniel Lacey last year, wasn't a brilliant race. He beat the Yellow Cloud, had a hard old season at Punchestown. And then, the run down at Limerick, the two of those horses couldn't get out of each other's way behind Oscar's brother a few weeks ago. So it doesn't look like it's kind of all brilliant form. And I think there's an awful lot in there to take him on with. I'd be what Diarmuid loves, the big Westerner, and I'd be a strong fan of her myself. I think 3 miles would be the making of her, and a bit of soft ground would be no harm.
Okay, the big Westerner. It's definitely a rate price for a bet. Just a yes or no then, Tony, on final demand.
No.
No, and we go into this race in good detail. It does look a rate price for a bet, Diarmuid, doesn't it?
It does. It's the big Westerner wins it, yeah.
Okay, and the next race is the cross country, and Dermo, you're the specialist here. Stumptown is 11-4 favourite. I'll vote whatever you vote because I have no notion. I probably won't even watch this race, to be honest.
No, I think I genuinely think Favori de Chamdu is going to take an awful lot of stopping. He was brilliant last time over these fences, and if you actually watch him the time before, he's actually jumping for fun. He just over jumps one is when he comes down. I'd say the cross country. I snuck this in here now because the cross country wouldn't generally be a race that I get too stuck into, but I think Favori de Chamdu is shaping up to be an absolute cracking bet here.
Okay, I agree with you, Dermo. That's a very good case. Tony, quick one then. Yes or no? Stumptown 11-4.
Yeah, absolute brilliant case there, Diarmuid. Who trains Stumptown for Favori de Chamdu again? Could you just put me straight now?
So Favori de Chamdu is the second horse into our accumulator by the looks of it. Andrew, are you in the Favori de Chamdu cap?
You may as well be, to be honest.
Okay,
let's all join in on the bandwagon.
There we go.
We've two up.
Lads, we've been double, lads. We've been double. Yes.
Strong opinions here now across the panel on Favori de Chamdu. Tony, a horse we do all have strong opinions on. Masper 7-4 favourite for the champion chase. And where are you lying with that at the moment?
I can't believe it. What was there 16 of these favourites? I said coming on this evening, I'm going to say yes to 2 of these now. And I think you already have me at, 4? And there's one of the ones that's going to say yes to yet to come. But no, I'm saying no to Masper. Look, going back to that thing we were saying about Leopardstown last week, just wonder, did he have a little bit of a track bias in his favour now, racing towards the middle of the track? Very, very impressive. But it's a different track. The ground is probably, look, I think even if it stays wet between now and then, the Leopardstown ground was absolutely extreme with some of the stuff that was going on there. And yeah, I'm happy enough saying a no to him. And again, I do think this is quite a deep race. Like, Marine National, obviously, Load of Sun being fresh would give him a bit of a chance. Elatia Thomas probably is the best form in the race. He's dropped 2 of the best performances, I'd say, in the 2-mile division. It's at Sandon. Whether you can do it at Cheltenham is a massive question. But look, if you are taking on the favourite, he's just another one that has a chance there, and Quilixius obviously was competitive in the race last season, so I think you're 4 running for you there.
Yeah, it's a good champion chase, Andrew, isn't it? Like, it's always an interesting race, and it's whether Masborough jumps and how he jumps is the big thing, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. But I suppose in the champion chases the last 5 to 10 years, we've been trained to expect something will happen and then somebody will end on the deck or make a bad mistake. And I'd be similar. No, I suppose out of any race of the meeting, ground's probably the absolute key here. Because if it is that kind of soft, bordering on heavy ground, you can clearly see the case for Madgeborough. I just think on a bit of nicer ground back at Cheltenham, down in trip with Marine as well. Don't think it gets talked about enough. We go on all year round about Gaelic Warriors hate for Leopardstown. Marine's 1 from 6 there. He's 7 from 8 everywhere else. And Leopardstown's the only track of all of them that you have to run over 2 mile 1 rather than the 2 miles of the mile 7.5. And I think he just doesn't really quite get home over 2-1. So if it was a bit of nicer ground, I'd be backing them to reverse that form. If it's that softer ground, you can understand the case for Madgeborough, but it's a no overall for me.
Okay, very good. That's good info on Marine National as well. Diarmuid, you've been a Marine National fan and you've been a Masborough fan and a Masborough hater all at once in your life. Where are you sitting on him at the moment?
No, yeah, literally. I remember going to war for this horse a few times on Twitter when I was in bad form. And then literally now I'm kind of anti him. I thought he was very good last time, but just everything Andrew said there. Anyway, Andrew was basically the propaganda wing of the Barry Connell yard. So I do get that, but this lad is, I do think any sort of better ground, I'd be all over Marine National here, yeah.
Okay. We'll talk more about that next week again. The bumper. Yeah. Oh, lads, I have the clue anyway. I'll be Tony, you're our bumper man. I don't know how good Andrew is on it, but we'll go to you first, Tony, as king of the bumpers for the Racehour. Los Danu is the 7-1 favourite. Willie's talking him up. Patrick's bumper, hope was well stuffed at the weekend. So it looks like Love Sign Danu is going to be the main one. And I suppose you're getting 7-1 on Willie Mullins number 1. So that's probably a fair price anyway.
Yeah, that's possible. Look, you'd imagine something's going to go off short on that. On the day, I just think this lad's a 3-man chaser. The Nace race was a really strongly won 19 furlong bumper, and he was in against other point-to-point type horses. And I know stayers can win the champion bumper. Jasmine DeVoe has been probably the most recent example in that, but yeah, he just looked a particularly strong stayer, and I just wonder if there won't be something with a bit more toe for him. So no, he'd be a no for me.
Okay, no from Tony. Andrew, are bumpers your bag? Is it something you pay a lot of attention to?
I bet in plenty of them, Stephen. I can't say whether I'm successful in them or not, to be honest. But no, very difficult. I'm never a massive fan in the years where Mullins is going to throw 5 or 6 darts at the race. There doesn't seem to be any degree of a pecking order. There's some people that will tell you the 2 4-year-olds are the best horses. There's some people who say Love Sign Danu is the best of them. Patrick can't ride the 2 4-year-olds, so it's not exactly like we're going to actually get any degree of a decent kind of idea of the pecking order. I'm sure Townend will be on either our Trigger or Kieran. And I don't have an enormous say in the race, to be honest. I feel Keep Him Company is probably the Jalon Duderie of a few years ago. He's more than likely going to run his race. And if it's an ordinary bumper, he might win it. And if there's something decent in there, it'll come second or third. But he's at around 16-1. I think on a little bit of softer ground, he'll keep going for you all day.
So 2 no's Diarmuid. If you want to rattle on and we go to Bambino Fever, Bambino Fever 2-1 for the Mayor's Novice Hurdle. I can't think of the name of the JP horse that she looks like it's kind of
Old School Outlaw.
Old School Outlaw, of course, yeah. It looks like they're going to be 2 to the 4 in the market. How do you feel about Bambino Fever?
I'd be very keen on her now. Like, she's a course and distance winner. She's, I'd say there's an awful lot in her favour. I think there's the first time out she blew up, and then last time I thought she was very good. No, not a great race. Old School Outlaw has definitely improved, but I don't know, like, when they meet again, I'll be buying an awful lot of her. It does show the weakness of this market this year. Generally, there kind of will be more than this. The fact that, Selma DeVary does look like she's going for the Triumph, and she's 10-1 only for this. And then Mange 2 did look like the Triumph as well. I wonder maybe the last time getting stuffed by Narciso Has could shift her over. But I'd say Bambino Fever. She 2-1's not a bad price at all here, Kat. I'm very much a yes. Very, very much a yes.
Yeah. Tony, years gone by, it's a race you used to love to have a bet in. Could be won by, might be won by now 125 horse or something some years, but it does look like there's strength at the top of the market this year, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, 145 can get you over the line in this a lot of years, unless there's a superstar in it. And I saw an interesting one there. Someone put up, no winner of this has ever gone on to win the Mayor's Hurdle itself. So maybe possibly not the greatest advertisement for it. I thought it was deeper than the front too, to be honest. But I think there's 3 there now that I think of life. So Echo and Silence is a mare that I like. Maiden Hurdle form worked out. Like the fact that the Bromhead has given her a break kind of since was a kind of early December type of thing. I think she'd be kind of a dangerous one. Carrymore and Spruce from local man to yourself there again. Yeah, kind of turns up, runs a race every day. Very, very capable mare. Give her life as well. And the Bromhead had another one.
Full of life.
I really full of like, this is hauling over things that I don't want to be thinking about now, because similar preparation to Magical Zoe, who could easily have won it the year that she kind of turned up for it, and how much she turned out to be afterwards. But I thought she looked a different filly now in the Nile when they made the run on her, beat Carrymore and Spruce and Merit. So it'd be a no for me. I think the front 2 are plenty short enough, because there's 1 or 2 there that definitely have improvement in them from kind of trainers who would be well able to target the meeting.
Okay, Carrickmore Spruce, you mentioned she's going to be a new ownership is what I'm hearing. I don't think it's out in the media yet for Cheltenham, and then she'll be heading across the water next year to one of the leading yards in England. That's a rumour I'm hearing. I'll stress it's a rumour, but I think there's something in it if anyone wants to follow up that story. Andrew Blair White, your thoughts on the Mayor's Novice?
Yeah, I think I'd have been a yes for Bambino Fever. I can see the, all the upsides of obviously winning the champion bumper. I don't mind the fact that she hasn't had too many runs this year. A little bit of nicer ground probably will suit her as well. I think she will reverse that form with Old School Outlaw. I can understand the case that there's probably a few there. They've probably come too far away from the others in the market in that respect. But I do think she'll be able to reverse that form, and that should leave her in a very good position here. We've got mares that are kind of progressing in behind, but you've got horses there with a Grade 1 bumper form to her name. So I'd have thought she'd take an awful lot of beating, and I'd say there'd be a few long faces in Close Sutton if she does.
Oh God, that leaves the casting vote down to me, and I've no great strong opinion on this. I wasn't impressed, as impressed with her as you could have been. I thought winning her maiden hurdle, I thought she might struggle to overturn the form with Old School Outlaw. Dermot, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to include her? I don't really mind.
No, you're fine.
I think I say no. My gut is no on her.
That's fine. Yeah.
Now,
we have
a tricky one here,
here.
Andrew, because the mare's hurdle is next and Lossiemouth is 5-4, even in the ante-post. And I suppose we have the question of where she will go, which is we've had that question for the last 25 years, it seems, of what race Lossiemouth's going to run in. But she is here, theoretically, I suppose, if she goes to the mares, is she banker material?
I'd have thought she is, yeah. I know Wadoo's a very, very good mare and can't be underestimated. She only does enough. And obviously the form, which, it looked like she kind of crawled in against Feet of a Dancer at Christmas time, but that form doesn't look too bad now. I just think, Lossiemouth's one of these mares that it kind of breaks your heart, that this kind of, the kind of palaver that comes about every year. She's just a different horse at Cheltenham. They'll say that that's because she's running in mares races, but you want to try and hurdle pulling a cart. And how do they know that she can't be a good 2-miler there? If she ran in a champion hurdle, I'd back her in a champion hurdle. I think she'll win the mares hurdle because it's probably where she will end up. But it's a crying shame that she is.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. She's actually 10-11 on runner no bets, and that's a much better price than the 5-4 ante-post. So we go with that angle with her. I would say definite yes. I think she would win the champion hurdle if she was in it. Everything points to her being magic at Cheltenham. I think they're suiting themselves with the talk that year now, what they say about Lossiemouth here and there. That all this stuff about State Man being miles better. I think they were just trying to Death Town and angle him her into the other race so he can win 2 races. That's my strong belief on this. I do think she'd win the champion hurdle myself. But we'll say yes at 10-11, non-runner no bet. I suppose we've 2 votes for that. And Tony, you're next. We'll say 10-11, non-runner no bet. Lossiemouth in the mares, or would you be in the Woodoo camp?
No, simple yes. But God, lads, I try not to get sucked into this, but I know you had last week there with all the media days and the stale tours and the time, but the Mullen stuff is just tragic to listen to. It's I find it absolutely unbearable. I don't know how many voices there were out of the yard last week. You had Willie Mullins, Paddy Mullins, Ruby was talking, Paul Townend. David Casey hasn't even started yet. He'll be doing 23 previews in the next fortnight. Actually, you couldn't. David Casey actually would have plenty in to say, though, maybe not in the topic of targets. Then you throw the owners into the mix. Is there any punter who is any the wiser about Lossiemouth, about Gaelic Warrior, about Fact to File? It is just, it is so boring. It is so repetitive. It's Cheltenham. Can you just give us a broad idea of where the bloody horses are running? And look, if something dramatic happens and you have to change them, do it. But just singing people along and it's clickbait. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Yes for Lossiemouth, but no for the Mullins circus. Double no. 5 or 6 X's along the bottom too.
Yeah. And they never seem to go like, Tour, Lossiemouth, Gaelic Warrior, go back to the Ryanair. Like, never seems to be the more daring, more interesting option is taken with the Mullins camp, which is torturous. Like, how many Cheltenham races do you have to win? I mean, sport is sport, and it's there to win. What does Richie care about another mare's hurdle? Dermot Lossiemouth, 10-11.
Yeah, she's in it definitely, but if Lossiemouth doesn't run in the mare's hurdle, I do want to hear after the Cheltenham Festival is over now that Cheltenham have redrawn how the mare's hurdle works, and that if you're over a certain rating or something, you aren't allowed in it anymore. This has to be the end of this nonsense now. The Mares Hurdle is the Mares races are a division that are needed, and it's great to keep more mares in racing. But the Mares Hurdle was great to have Honeysuckle when she was clearly out of her depth at that point in her career at Champion Hurdle. So the way that she could go to Cheltenham was she could run in the mares because she was being thumped. Otherwise, that's fine. But the likes of Lassie Maud, who, despite the fact that she hated every minute of it at Leopardstown, wasn't far at all behind Better Days Ahead. And you know what I find even funnier is that if Michael O'Leary says something half controversial, you will see on Twitter a sea of people absolutely despising him and saying this and that. Michael O'Leary would straight away after that race map out what race she's going to. They're very upfront, Gordon and the O'Learys and all them, 99.99% of the time, they get painted as the bad guys, and they aren't at all. When it comes to this, all those O'Leary horses run as straight as a die most days of the week, and they get handicapped accordingly. I think racing, it's extremely shoddy, really, really shoddy.
Yeah. One thing on it, they can't have a ratings cap. You just be encouraging people to not try. You could be a year and a half miss and not trying with a horse to go for a Mares Hurdle. That just cannot happen.
I know, but there has to be something though where this can't keep happening.
Well, you're allowed, but
it should be the goodwill of the participants to be straight about it. Especially like you're not dealing with a lad that's having one Cheltenham winner every 10 years. You're talking to the perennial top trainer at Cheltenham that he can't kind of give an idea where the horses are run. I'm less concerned about the Mares Tour. I don't mind the Mares Hurdle or things like that. But although I do think the Acca, the Acca this season is a classic example of the benefits of stripping away that 2.5 mile race, because you probably have 3 or 4 2.5 mile horses running in it who wouldn't be there otherwise, making it an ultra interesting race. Like Rumiculu definitely wouldn't be there. Would Lamba be there? Steel Alley. There's definitely a good 3 or 4 big players that are 2.5 milers down the lane. So that's something they haven't got right. But maybe they can carry through and play it to 1 or 2 other races.
Yeah. Like they'd say it wouldn't suit the pattern if they had penalty structures and it couldn't be a grade whatever, unless they had to set penalty structures like the rest of the pattern. But they mess around with that all the time. They have level weights races and grade 2s and stairs races at Ascot.
So they made up a race for a horse this coming weekend. Like if there's a win,
he's not even in it. He's not even in it yet.
Yeah. Well, look, we're meant to go Stairs Hard next, but we won't because we're going on to the Ryanair next. And Tony, I'll put it to you when we're saying how good the Arkle is. Like, you name me one man alive that likes the Ryanair, apart from Michael O'Leary, maybe. But like, why can't we get rid of this race?
Does he? Does he like it? He doesn't run his horse.
He doesn't run him. Even he knows how bad it is.
Yeah. All of the above multiplied by 5 with Gaelic Warrior about the nonsense with the targets. So who's the actual favourite here? Is the two of them getting the same price? Are they? The fact of failing Gaelic Warrior. Yeah, but very little to beat. Like Heartwood is the second favourite. This is a part of me said this to me the weekend. Is there any chance they're going to really pull a rabbit from the hat and run neither of them, and Imperial Pass is going to be the main one?
I'd say a good chance knowing that, Jared, and the way they operate and the way they scare off people here and there, and then try and win what they can.
I thought he did very well to win on Saturday now, Goran, with kind of an absolute crawl of a race. I think they were 10 and 20 seconds slower than the other couple of races on the card. He's in a terrible position turning in. He hits the second last. He's first time out. He's grade 1 penalty. He showed a nice bit of ability there. Although I don't think Imperial Pass and Heartwood is exactly box office for one of the features on the Thursday, is it?
Yeah. Get rid of the Ryanair. Andrew, what do you think?
Completely. When you've got horses like Gaelic Warrior or Factify, like the fact that an Irish Gold Cup winner is even contemplating not running in the Gold Cup, it tells you all you need to know, really. But unfortunately, the fact of the matter is, if either of them run, they'll win, unless there's a mishap. I'd have thought, there's been people making cases for Heartwood all year and stuff like that. He was a furlong behind them at Punchestown, and he's a very good horse, Heartwood, but when he comes up against that type of great a horse, he's going to get beaten. It looks, if you're reading between the lines, which are the most blurred of blurred lines, it seems like Gaelic Warrior will be the one that would drop down in trip, and you can see him potentially making all in this race and being very impressive.
Okay. One final point on it. Why can't we have a 2-week out preferred target nomination? And, there has to be some reason you can't run. Maybe you can have this nonsense up to a point, but sure, they know now, or they can make a decision now. I think Diarmuid will make an executive decision, not even bother talking about the Ryanair for the Acca. We'll just crack on. We'll go back. Yeah, we'll go back to the stairs hurdle. I almost get confused with the stairs door. The stairs hurdle, I think it is. Andrew Tiupu's 13-8 ante-post favourite with Bet365 for the stairs. He's had his chances before and not danced the dance, but what about this year?
Yeah, I think it's actually probably a good thing that he's ran the twice this year. I think that, it's one of those things where I think he's only been running the once almost out of superstition more than actually any real fact to the matter. He was absolutely mustard at Christmas time. It's one of those, it's not an overly inspiring price, so I can understand why people would want to maybe make a case to take him on. I just thought he was relatively bulletproof, to be honest. Honesty Policy ran a decent race at Ascot. Gordon seems to be quite keen on him running a big race. You can see that, but I just get the impression that the English stayers aren't as good as people may think they are. And this Impose-Toi, Machan 2 stuff, I'm not so sure. And the thing that then draws me back with Honesty Policy was he was put in his place by Impose-Toi. I think it was a little bit of a farce, he was coming back at the line. Impose-Toi kind of takes the piss when he gets to the front. So I think that can get drawn out a little bit as well. I don't think Cabral de Matan will run. And then it's back to Bob Ollinger again. And I just don't feel they'll set the race up the same way that they did for Bob Ollinger last year. And he's a year older as well. So I do feel it's a little bit do or die stuff for Tiupo. But I thought there was a fair case that he was actually, he was backable at 7-4. So it's a yes for me.
Yeah, he seems to be the form of life anyway, Diarmuid. That's for sure with Tiupo, doesn't he?
He does. He's a horse I never quite believed in for some reason. Despite the fact he's winning all around. I love the way Gordon said that the race planning always annoyed him because it was just David Russell got off in one day and said that this horse needs to be fresh, and they all just kind of went along with it, and he wanted to change it this year. It's been backed up. I have come fully around to Bob Ollinger, to be honest, for basically all the reasoning that Andrew was saying there. I would have been a big Impose-Toi man, but I do think that English form is highly questionable. Honesty Policy, I just don't get it. I don't get the fuss with this horse. Very good at Aintree last year, but that's not much of a race. Machan 2 as well was kicked out of the way in that Albert Bartlett, was miles behind him. So what's left here then is Bob Ollinger and Tiupo. The blame seems to be left on Jack for waiting too long, and that Bob Ollinger kind of did him for toe. But if Jack kicks on 2 out and Darragh O'Keefe is behind, that nearly suits Darragh O'Keefe just as much to jump on the last and trying to catch him up the running. I'm not sure. I think Jack takes a bit of the blame sometimes. He took the blame for El Cairo's nearly falling the last day as well. I think he tends to just jump on the grenade to help El Gordo out. But I do think Bob Ollinger might be a year older, but he looked plenty of it at Leopardstown on the track. He's not particularly mad about either. So Bob Ollinger for me, so it's a no, Cass.
Okay, a no for Dermo. Kind of a yes for Andrew, I think-ish. But Tony, what about you?
I'll go to no there. I just think that, again, rinse and repeat here a little bit. There's enough in it to beat him there. I actually think Machan 2's kind of won this really on the up now. Real Lakes, Cheltenham, Impose-Toi looked like he was going to step up to this level, and Machan 2 kicked him out of the way. I get Jim's point about the Albert Bartlett, but just does look a different horse this season, so there'll be a no for me.
Okay, I'm surprised at the price I'm looking at here, Narciso Has. I thought he was a bit shorter, but 13-8 ante-post with Bet365. I know Tony's a fan. Andrew, what about you?
Sorry, who's this, Austin?
Narciso Has for the Triumph.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, no, could completely see the case for this. He's just, he's a really real proper horse. Professional, jumps well, stays well. I think there might, I suppose the one thing is there might be a small moment when they cross the road 2.5 furlongs down where I suspect a Selma Davari or a horse of that nature seemingly be travelling a little bit sweeter, but I don't think anything gets past him.
Okay. I'll go in as a yes with you at that 13-8 with Bet365 with the ante-post price, because I think it'll be about even money on the day. It does strike me as a triumph that something's going to be a huge price of the day and maybe come and win it, because it's not that much strength at the top of the market if Narciso Has doesn't go and do the business. But he kind of reminds me of Deafy Decide Diarmuid a bit. He's a real stayer, grinder at the 2 miles and doing everything right. Just coming into it, he's going to be hard to beat.
I love him, and it's not the deepest, as you just said there, Cass. Also, there's not going to be that many dark horses now that you can't run one fresh in it either. That Fantasy World was talked up by Nicky Nolan, but he blew up during the week. He really didn't come home. I'd say he's not going to run. So I don't see what beats it. I think there's going to be an awful lot of festival preview night talk about Selma de Very turning that form around. Don't see it. She was doing her best work when Narciso Has was kind of dossing up the run in at that point. He's a beauty, and I'd say he's as close to bomb-proof that you will find with a Triumph Hurdle horse, isn't you?
Are we getting a fourth one into the Acca, Tony?
Yeah, no, you know, I'm a fan of this. The only thing annoying me, I didn't back him kind of after Christmas for this. Has done it under all kind of setups. Slow pace, fast pace, bad ground, nice ground. Seems to be tactically versatile. You can make the run on him. You can just sit off the pace. I'd say that the stiffer test of the Triumph will suit him better again. And yeah, I'd agree with Jim about Selma de Very. I just couldn't see her reversing the form. She's kind of quite hot and would, you know, kind of would kind of be outstayed, I would suspect, with him. So yeah, for me.
Okay, so that's a fourth one in, and I tell you, fair play to Bet365, because 11-8 is the best in the village that I can see, and 13-8 has probably even beaten the exchange prices there on the ante-post side. So Narciso Has is the fourth in the list. We're on to the Mayor's Chase then, and Tony, come to you first. Dino Blue is good at Nace, well, she's very good at Nace, probably ground dependent, so she's a hard one to put into an ante-post Acca from that perspective, isn't she? And it is a good Mayor's Chase this year.
Yeah, I just leave Horn and not a race I've done an awful lot of thinking about. I do think Spindlebury just put a line through the Irish Gold Cup. It was a mess from the start. She got bumped early. She was keen. She didn't have a race at all. I'd kind of be interested in her. She will be giving way to Dino Blue, having won a Grade 1 in the last year. But yeah, there are kind of interesting horses in this, or interesting mares in this. But are you expecting a whole lot to turn up, Stephen? You know, Panic Attack, you know, seems like July Flower, Diarmuid's favourite filly there as well. But after that, I don't know. Calaconte, I got the impression with Melly if he'd stay at home with her.
Yeah.
Only by night will run. I would have thought only by night. Diva Luna.
But why did only by night not run at the DRF? She's saying she hasn't had a run in a while. Yeah, I don't know. I've only wondered.
Yeah, I just don't like chopping and changing between hurdles. I wonder, had they second thoughts on that? You know, are we going to go over hurdles when we could win a mare? Yeah. Now, look, I could be making a case there that's absolutely
ground
nonsense.
maybe with her. No ground. I'd say she's a quick mare. You probably just
ground. Yeah, I think she'd be fine landing ground. But Dermo, you're a big fan of Diva Luna, so I presume you're a no here at 6-4 for Dino Blue.
I know, but there will be a good few runners here, I'd say, Tony. They kind of tend to always be the telepathic in horses like this. There always tends to be kind of 8. It'll be the 8 anyway. And that I read Henry de Bromhead during the week as well, saying that July Flower is far more likely to go here than the Arkle as well. So she wouldn't be out of it either. That was a good run at Cheltenham last year. But look, love Diva Luna, but I would have preferred. She missed her target. She missed a week. They're going to send her straight here. I would have preferred her to get another run into her. I think she's been fairly faultless now over her fences the last twice. A mare with a very high ceiling. Her back four now and bumpers and stuff has been kind of found out to a certain degree as well. Had there been a lot of fuss here behind Dino Blue, I nearly would have been a yes, because even on good ground that day, she wasn't far off winning. On bad ground at good ground here, she's probably just a little bit better than all these mares. I love Spindleberry, but I would have the concern that Cass mentioned earlier on in the season on this podcast. She does go right a bit, and I'd have a bit of concern with her and the new course here with her for that reason. So I'd be Diva Luna, but I'd be not particularly no on Dino Blue, but let's just say I am now. Because
Yeah. To be fair to Spindlebury, I thought she kind of was on her right four, but when she went to Doncaster, she led in her left and jumped left absolutely fine, no problem. So I wouldn't be as concerned about that. It's more the bad prep. Andrew, so just a quick one, yes or no, Dino Blue, and then you can rock straight into the Albert Bartlett where Dr. Steinberg is the 11-4 favourite.
Yeah, well, I agree with the lads. No on Dino Blue. Just think it's a stronger race than it was last year when Allegory Devassi came down. Dr. Steinberg, a horse that, if you were to look at X, should probably be around 16-1. Nobody seems to fancy this horse as a favourite. Have to take him on. And I think it's a whole load of bollocks, to be honest. You're just looking at this going, people want to take him on. Oh, he beat nothing at the Dublin Racing Festival. Understand, it was an ordinary race in behind. You'd swear he won by a length. He won half the length of the track. Then, he was too keen. It was 2 miles 6 on deplorable ground. He's going to get 3 miles on a bit of nicer ground. More runners in the race. Townend has switched off far worse horses in this race in the past. And then I just look at the race in depth, and they're going, like, there's very little in behind. I'd love, there'll be nobody wanting the devil to run well better than me. But he was well held at Navan. And if that race was a furlong further that day, he'd have been beaten 10 lengths rather than 4 lengths. Sortudo, is he going to run? Espresso Milan winning without saying it like Barry Connell, a Mickey Mouse race down at Thurles. And, then you're into the Declan Quealy horse, who's a very, very good horse, but can't jump for toffee. So I'm just looking at it going, actually, there's an argument that this 11-4, 3-1 is a pretty good price. And I know that doesn't seem to be in line with whatever everyone wants to take this horse on. But I do think it's one of those ones people can't get their head round, Willie Mullins horses, that they haven't got the first scoop. So many of these Mullins horses come from France, and everyone's there going, oh, I heard this, I heard that. And they can't get their head around the fact that a horse is actually just better than even the Mullins yard thought. And as a result, we're trained into thinking that the horse must be crap, when actually he just keeps on winning very impressively. He's beating horses hand over fist. And it'd be one of my stronger views of the whole week. I just think he's being severely overlooked as a favourite.
Okay. He's a big yes for Dr. Steinberg from Andrew Blair White. Tony, give you a second knock at him. So what do you think?
Cheers, Andrew Sharpton made a good case there now, I'd say. That's a good strong case. That's what happened at the DRF now. Like, I would have went into the DRF saying, God, take this lad on. Then you start looking through the race and you say, well, he's the lad with the form, and he's the lad that's able, he kind of does things the hard way a little bit, in that he does things wrong and is still able to win and win kind of well. And then you start looking at what's chasing him up in the market. The devil, I think good points made there. And Espresso Milan, which are surely to think he's better than Espresso Milan. And then I think I said this before, I've been scarred a bit by this race in the past. I feel like I've managed to be on Mullins horses, and I think I've managed to be on the shortener for this race a lot. Maybe something that was 8-1 round this time and finishes off going off 2-1 or 5-2. And if this makes sense, it's the race that beats them, not necessarily that there's 3 better horses. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm looking at the Supreme there, and you said there's loads of good horses in potential, but this race just seems that it nearly always gets the 20 runners. It's a race that tends to be different to a lot of the trials. A lot of them, maybe like Dr. Steinberg, an example, hasn't tried 3 miles before, hasn't tried it as an ultra stiff track. So yeah, I'm kind of neutral on this. I've been swayed a little bit by that case, and if you two lads are swayed, I'll go with him too, because I think the fact that his back record, maybe having run and competed at Galway, maybe at the summer meeting, has been held against him when he's done nothing but improve, and that whatever 3 runs of orders at this point.
Okay, Diarmuid, go on to you. So are you going to keep the Dr. Steinberg dream alive here for Andrew for the Acca?
Yeah, so it's only 3 or 4 needed. So yeah, I will now. I was kind of windy on him, but it does make an awful lot of sense. I am on Zanouche each way, but she's still available at the price I put her up. So Diarmuid Nolan is still moving markets, as we can see. And but I think do do like her, but the argument for Dr. Steinman there was rock solid. I've nothing to add to it at all. I think it's amazingly fair. The only thing again is that Willie Mullins won't commit this horse either to the Albert Park. I said that it's depends on whether Paul Townend thinks he can settle him or not. So if this horse runs in the Turners, it means that Paul Townend can't settle a horse, basically.
But I
think is what he was saying.
they make fools of you every year. Like Tony and Andrew kind of both touched on it there. They'll probably have him settled, not a bother, on the Friday this year.
Yeah.
It's just that yard just makes fools of you.
But Deschamps was a nutcase. Yeah, and sure, he's a model pro as soon as they decided to just work on him. Well, so, yeah, I know 100%.
Like the ride on Jalan Duderi's last year was just absolutely class, and you could see it again. But I'm going to say no. If anyone's asking me all the last few weeks, do you fancy
Jasmine DeVoe? Sorry, not Jalan Duderi.
Yeah, sorry,
Jasmine DeVoe. Yeah.
If anyone asks me the last few weeks, and I've been on to you about him, Diarmuid, I'm just mad on this Cryptic Jim. I think the form of that race with the hole of the ground at Cheltenham is strong in my view. We saw Heads Up come out and win again on Sunday from that race. I think Cryptic Jim just seems to be progressing. He travelled really well, as did Taurus Bay. I actually think they're two really good horses, and I think you'd do worse than have a 5 or a 10 on Taurus Bay at 50-1 and on the exchanges or 33s at Bet365 and roll it into, as a little manual double, roll it into Cryptic Jim then on the Friday. You'd be getting well over 1,000-1 on the related form on those two. But Cryptic Jim jumped brilliantly, except for the last, and he made a really bad mistake. Taurus Bay travelling all over him, and he still got back on the bridle and got back up and beat Taurus Bay. He's going to go open trip, I would imagine. So just, Andrew, because I'm so mad at Cryptic Jim here, I'd say no to Dr. Steinberg, because I would be worried about the being keen thing.
He's made it anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah. No, but do you not
3 out of 4 makes it?
Do we have
That's 3?
Brought the Tony's a yes.
Yeah. Tony was a windy yes, as in he'd be blown over
windy
the line.
Yes, yeah.
Oh God, we've a 5-4 going, so we'll have a big outlay here for the a lucky. What's that? A lucky 63, is it?
63,
lucky 31, is it?
Yeah, 63,
31.
63,
Sorry.
31. It is
Lucky 31.
I was right.
Yeah.
That Monaghan man. That Monaghan gives me the jitters. Go on, yeah.
So let's see, can we make it like a Goliath or whatever those bets are. Factifile is the 92 favourite for the Gold Cup. Tony Keenan, he's 92 ante-post, and again we have this crap about will he, won't he, but I'd say Factifile probably will run at the Gold Cup. So take it that he will, and would you be keen to back him ante-post at 9-2 for the Acca?
No, I'm just going to hold me prior opinion that he'd be a doubtful stayer over the extra 2 and a bit furlongs. And again, to come back to what we were saying last week, possibly had the track set up well from at Leopardstown. Not sure to get that Cheltenham.
Fair enough. Andrew, as we're new to the party here, you can give your thoughts on the Gold Cup as a whole.
Yeah, similar to Tony, just a nagging feeling with Factifile. The problem with this Gold Cup is there's a nagging feeling over a load of them, whether they'll stay or not. Jukebox Man, Django Boy certainly come into that as well. Gaelic Warrior, if he was to run. Even, like, I know they've talked about Grand Nationals with Spillane Tower, but I'm wouldn't be so sure myself. Just means it's a very tricky race. It feels like sentiment's going back to Galloping Deschamps. I suppose the one thing in my head with him is, are they going to pull Mullins in the last year or so has had the magic set of cheek pieces that come out every now and then and seem to improve horses hand over fist. And, I got the impression of one of the slightly straighter things that came out of that press day was that it did seem pretty certain that he will be wearing cheek pieces. So it feels like you're going down the wrong route, going for a horse that's probably not as good as he was, but he's one of the very few horses in this that at least is very much a confirmed star.
Okay, Diarmuid, you've been a Django Bay fan all along. Is he kind of your Gold Cup one at the moment, or are you tickled by Factifile at 9-2? It's a big price, and Dean Ryan will certainly want him to get a big mention here.
Oh God Almighty! Yeah. If Dean was on this now, he'd be as giddy as a goat here now during this part. But Django Bay, I watched back the King George this morning actually. So again, during my lunch break, I tend to jump on the treadmill here behind me and watch a division. And went back through the Gold Cup thing. The Kempton, the King George is weirdly being wrote off by a lot of people because it's too slow, but the market's taking it very seriously. So it's hard to know what way to fall on that. Over the last few weeks, it's mad how your memory can be altered. I started coming around to the jukebox man an awful lot, but watching back the King George today, I am very much in the camp that Django Bay is the Gold Cup horse of the four of them, apart from a Gaelic Warrior who definitely will get the trip. I think Django Bay, Nico de Boinville ends up stuck out wide, can't do anything about the pace because he's not quick enough to get there and do anything about it. I think the fact that Banbridge speeds up between the three of them to jump the second last in front does back up the kind of lack of pace. The race didn't suit him. He stays on all the way to the line. So Django Bay will be my Gold Cup horse, definitely. And I saw a Twitter post the last day. I don't know whether Andrew Blair saw it as well. Did you see the bingo card for the preview nights? And one of them is Andrew tipping at least 4 Paul Nolan horses, and the other one was me tipping at least 4 Henry de Bromhead horses. And on that note, I actually rewatched Down Royal, and I was half persuading myself in my head that Envoy Allen could be too big at 40-1 there after Affordale Flory, kind of backing that up as well. And coming here fresh is no bad thing for Henry de Bromhead. So it does show that I definitely do have a type cast, but long way of saying no. In fact, the file would not be on my bet here.
Okay, so I think we've 5 then, and I'm here trying to build it. I'm just struggling to get the Albert Bartlett on the...
I have it here.
Have you done with 365 with the prices we were talking about, Dermo?
I do. Have we lost them?
I have it here. Let me just put in Dr. Steinberg there. He's 9-4.
I have it here, 552-1.
Okay, well, I'm getting 4. We said last email we were talking.
Okay, sorry. I got you did that there.
Yeah, so I'm getting about 410-1 here. So anyway, to recap, no drama at this end. It was 4-1 for the Turners Novice Hurdle. Fabry the Champdou for the cross country. We're going to put our faith in Diarmuid Nolan and Gordon Elliott there. Narciso Has in the Triumph, a very thin of 13-8 with Bet365. Last amount non-runner, no bet for the Mayor's Hurdle. And Dr. Steinberg, it'll actually be bigger now because I can't find the actual market. So I can't see what price he is in the ante-post, but he's 9-4. No, but so you'll probably get the both.
He's 11-4.
11-4, yeah, 9-4. So it would be 490 or whatever that would be. 490-1 thereabouts on the 5-fold. So lucky 63. Dermot, we normally do a tenner stake, so you could do it this year and I'll revolute you there. Yeah. It'll be about 600 quid.
Tenner, look at the no worries.
Yeah. Andrew Blair White, listen, thanks very much for joining us. Anything else on the spot now? Any other horse that you've been thinking about maybe for a handicap or a big priced one that's kind of been niggling at the back of your mind for the last few days?
I suppose as Dermot set me up there, big Paul Nolan fan myself. And I would say out of all of his runners of the week, the one that intrigues me the most is Iceberg Theory in the National and Chase. Lightly raced horse, been put away for the race. He's got a handicap mark of 133 in the UK. I know we didn't talk about the National and Chase. I think it looks a windy race this year. I think the favourite probably isn't going to get into it at the top of the wall park. Don't think there's too much depth in the race. He's around 20-1. I think he's a very, very fair price.
Very good, very good. Andrew Blair White, thank you very much. Tony Keenan, Diarmuid Nolan. We're going to be on the big preview in Dublin next week. That's going to come out next Friday. And so looking forward to build up to Cheltenham. And we are going to have a chat to finish out the show with Pat Cooney from Bet365. Joined now by Pat Cooney from Bet365. As always, Pat, would you believe this is the last time we're going to talk until after Cheltenham, as we have the big Dublin preview next week, and then we're nearly running into the week itself. So it feels to me like a much easier, much shorter running. You know, it's not as exhausting as other years because the markets are so open, and it's been such a good season, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in seasons gone by, we've probably had, at this stage of the proceedings, probably 5 or 6 horses are already odds on, and pretty much everyone's idea of a banker.
Yeah, and the weekend just gone past. You were up at Haydock, were you?
Yes, I was up at Haydock, and it was a good crowd there. You know, a lot of the students were there as well, so they seem to have got the real thirst for it. So hopefully they'll be turning up during the half term as well when they're at university. But it was a good crowd there, and a lot of the horses that won at Haydock And you think, oh, okay, you could see they were Cheltenham. Most of the connections were saying we're going to skip Cheltenham and wait for Aintree. So we had that with Dalston Lad in the Albert Bartlett. A couple of the others that won at the meeting. The Hunter Chase winner to end the card was, well, we're going to probably skip Cheltenham and go to Aintree. So it was more a case of them not turning up at Cheltenham in March that was interesting, really. We had the filly win the first race, Manlager, in the JP McManus colours. She got Triumph Hurdle quotes after that run, but they were very much, oh, no. If anything, if you're going to see her at Cheltenham, it'll be in the Fred Winter, the juvenile hurdle, but depending on what handicap mark she gets. So it was more a case of what isn't going to turn up than what will. So it was interesting. Out of all the horses that were scheduled to race at Haydock, one didn't run, of course, which was Cabrel de Mathan of Dan Skelton's. He didn't run. But since Saturday, he has been quite popular in the Stayers Hurdle, non-runner, no bet. So he's certainly one to add to your thought process for the Stayers. After he won last time out, the connections were saying, I think we'll skip Cheltenham and wait for Aintree. That might not be the case this time around. So if you're a Tehupu, etc. fan, then brace yourself for maybe this one joining in the party.
Yeah, he'd have a great chance as well. I would love to see it. Hopefully all these horses go to Cheltenham. Cheltenham is the be-all and end-all, if you ask me. Pat, you can keep your entries. But it's John Bond, on that subject, I suppose they will run him in the Ryanair. He's had a hard couple of races. What kind of price is he now for the Ryanair after Saturday at Ascot?
Well, he was 5-1. I'll focus on the non-runner, no bet, because that's probably the best way to go. And we cut him to 4-1 immediately after the race. And of course, at things stand at the moment, you've got Factor File head in the market for the Ryanair. So I would imagine JP wouldn't want those two going head to head. So if we're doing our sums, and we can get them wrong, of course, but you'd say Factor File would go Gold Cup and Ryanair would certainly be John Bond's target. And that paves the way really for Gaelic Warrior to step down from his Gold Cup aspirations and to probably be an odds-on favourite. You'd look at Gaelic Warrior's CV over this kind of 2 mile 5 trip, and it reads so well. But John Bond is adored by the racing public. The loudest cheer of the day at Haydock was when he was winning on the big screen. So he's a really, really popular horse. But that's 2 hard races in a row he's had now. He's a busy horse. We often associate Nicky Henderson with getting a bit windy, don't we? Saying, he'll run there and he might not run there. And, I don't want to go. But this is a horse, he's quite an active horse. He's quite a buzzy type of horse anyway. So they probably like running him. But he did have a hard race at Ascot. And it's got to tell at some point. And you look at Gaelic Warrior, he's got that gap between those two. But if he were to run, he's going to be very popular. And he certainly has a lot of substance to the race. I'd like to hang fire with him and go for the King George of Kempton in December. 3 miles round there might be his ideal cup of tea.
Yeah. Well, he'd make that anyway. And you'd imagine he'd run an age-3 as well. He seems to dance every dance, in fairness to the horse. He's got some constitution. The other one that made a bit of a splash, although he wasn't that impressive, was Alexi. So in the champion hurdle market, is he being given much of a chance?
No, he's 20-1. I mean, funny enough, that Kingwell hurdle, he's had a few champion hurdles in the past come out and win. The Golden Ace, of course, won there last year. He did it okay. You could see him getting some bit of the prize money, couldn't you? But to be good enough to win, you'd say probably not on that basis. He did win a Great Wood Hurdle, of course, at Cheltenham, so he has got the course form. And you do look at the leaderboard, don't you, and think, well, they've all got flaws. Like, why not have a go? If he were mine, he'd be lining up in the race rather than carry top weight in one of the handicaps. But as to being good enough, I don't know. But he'll give him a good thrill for 1.5 miles, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'd say you're right. He probably not up his class. Didn't look at it Saturday anyway. Now, this week we have been talking with the lads about our assessing the festival's favourites. And I wanted to know from you, Pat, if you had one Faz you'd like to take on and one you'd really like to be with across the whole festival. What's Pat Cooney's banker in Bismarck?
Well, I'll wait for the triumph on Friday. Narciso Has. I just think this is absolutely rock solid. And every opposing trainer is saying, I'm not sure we'll beat this favourite, but we're going to run anyway. I think Narciso Has is one of these that is just going to dominate the Triumph Hurdle from start to finish. Short enough price, maybe, but, go scratch below the surface. There's probably only 4 or 5 realistic contenders in the race. And this one's a long, long way in front. So I'd certainly be saying that would be my absolute banker. Now, as the ones I want to be against, I still keep looking at Lulambra at Newbury when he won last 2 weeks ago, it'll be now. And I had always been a fan of the horse, but I'd be concerned over the first 3 or 4 fences there. And the vibes for Kopek de Borga are so strong. I can imagine the two of them getting closer and closer in the market together. And then add to that, you might give me Cargisi and Romeo Coolio as well. And maybe a couple of Willie Mullins B, C, and D listers as well. And all in all, Lulamba does look a lay at current prices. And I do think that's how the market is going to go over the next couple of weeks, because Kopek, I think, is only going to shorten up in the market. It continues to be that well-hyped horse of it. So at the start of the season, they were probably the other way around in the market. There's no guarantee Lulamba will be favourite on the day for me, I don't think.
Yeah, it's moving that way. Kopek's very, very strong. Now, Pat, you're dare I say, a veteran of the game. I feel like a veteran of the game myself as well. And what's your Cheltenham look like? How do you spend the week? Where do you stay? What do you do in the evenings? Do you have a drink at the races, or do you spare yourself for the afternoons, or how do you go about it?
No, I'm teetotal all week. Actually, I'm staying in a hotel in Ulster. Alcester, which is funny enough about a mile down the road from Dan Skelton. So, I'll be keeping my ear to the ground in the evening there. But no, alcohol free, very focused, very dull, very boring. But you get great value in the markets here. So, you've got to pay attention to the extra each way terms. There'll be specials, there'll be happy hours at all the sorts of firms. So it's a real opportunity. The play spots always pay astronomical. So I like to be on the peak of my game for that one. Then head up home and probably stop off at Utoxeter on the way home. And Saturday night, then maybe have a glass of wine. Yeah, but I'm very focused, very dull and professional, sadly.
What a pro. I would, myself and Diarmuid cannot be accused of being like this at Cheltenham in any shape or form. So, Pat, I doubt what we might do. We might meet for a coffee then before racing starts on the Tuesday. How about that? So myself and Diarmuid will meet you for a coffee before racing. If you're not too busy, we'll give you a shout. This weekend at Kempton, you're heading to Kempton for what was the old Race and Post Chase. Used to be a great race, kind of has gone down in the echelons of the great races now, I think. But always a good race at the same time. And you've the Ida up at Newcastle, Pat, so something to look forward to.
Yeah, and there's two very historic races, really. At Newcastle, the Ida Chase. And again, it's an interesting market there. The horse that's probably been best backed thus far in the Ida Chase is a horse called Angler's Crag, who actually won this race 2 years ago. He was pretty miserable last year, but he's had a new trainer this year, Nicky Richards, and he won first time out for Nicky the other day. And he looks as though that's really rejuvenated him. But it's a long old way, 4 miles one, isn't it? I think they do 3 laps of the track. I couldn't do that. However disciplined I am, I wouldn't be doing that. I'd fall in a hole after the first circuit. And at Kempton, it's the Labrador Chase, we call it, but it'll always be known as the Racing Post, won't it? But the last year's winner, again, Katati Doro, Sam Thomas, that won the race very easy last year. I think he won, I've got it here, he won by 15 lengths. And that was with a mark of 125. He's now 136. So ordinarily you'd be thinking, my God, that's a bit too much of a jump. But he got beat of a pound lower last time out and he ran ever so well. And he's trained by Sam Thomas, who has got a real good following. He places his well. He doesn't waste the entries. So he's a real target trainer. So if you like your previous course and distance winners and of these events, then those two, I think they're on course to head the markets. But whether or not they can win or not remains to be seen.
Great. Okay, well, Pat, you're signing off the show this week. It's been great talking to you all year. Would you believe the next time we chat on this, we're going to be talking about next year's festival when we do the review the Monday after Cheltenham. So we'll talk then, Pat. Enjoy the festival, and I would just want to inform all the listeners, people will be asking next week when's the big Dublin preview out. That comes out on the Friday. And we'll hear from Pat next week. Dean Ryan will talk to Pat next week for an update on all the markets. Good luck to everyone in the run-up to Cheltenham. Good luck with your bets, and thanks for listening.